So I have removed that message for simplicity. So added element directly, string has been added, string 1, string 2, and string 3. Then the concept was same. So let me run this. Let me run this class Java C and Java iterator. So it print the messages. Sorry, Java test array list. So it printed this one, test1, test2 for is empty, false, size is equal to 0, is removed for, I have removed for, because I have removed the index 2, means index 2 has been removed. Now size is equal to size become 2 now, array list size will become 2. If you want to remove all of them, you can call a clear object. Go to the clear. So we remove the object, then if you want to remove all the elements, so we can call the clear. Clear does the remove, makes the size to 0. Let's call the clear. Clear. So it makes 0. It makes 0. Then check the size afterwards. Size after clear. So what is the size after the clear? So compile this code again. Java test array list. So here test1, test2, test3, test1, test2, test2 for test1, test2 for is objects. Is empty is false. Is size is 3. Removed one element. The size is become 2. Then afterwards I removed all, clear edit. Now size after clear is 0. It means that now this array list is become a empty now. That's how this application programming interface will help you to write the code, how we want to write the code. So if you want to write it, which method I want to invoke, you need to look at this API and you can write the functionality accordingly. Let's get into that similar way, what we have. Like the way we have hash table, hash map. Hash map will be little bit different. It has a add functionality of the hash map is different. We use as a put. Instead of add, they use a name called put and key and value. Key and value. We store the key and value here. Put all. You can put multiple keys and multiple objects, multiple values. Then you look at the hash map, hash table programming interface. You need to understand what are the methods has been written for this. So hash map is another Java class. They've written another Java class. By Java has provided this class, and they created this Java documentation so that easily can understand. They provided the complete implementation of the your Java API, how they work, and so that programmer can go through this and understand this. Then you can use in your programming. That's how this Java API helps. If you go like this way, there are many objects are available, many classes are available. We need to use which functionality is needed for us. Something you want to create a timer. Timer means you know the timer. Every some time you want to run the things in a daemon, right? The timer objects. So anything you need to write to timer, schedule something, you generally put a clock in your phone for 5 minutes, wake up early morning, 4 o'clock, you need to wake up something. You can write this kind of a timer programming if anything related to timer things. Like the way if you want to create a random numbers, if you want to create a random numbers, every 2 minutes you run a program, it generates some random number, uniqueness. So you can use this class random to generate random numbers. Like there is a properties. Suppose you have a text file, and you only need to read some information from your text file. You use this properties class, which will help you to read from the text file. Text file can contain suppose you created a text file, something like notepad. You created opened a notepad, and you created a key value pair. So what you mention is something city is equal to Boston, and state is equal to MA, country is equal to USA. Suppose you written like this. You want to read this data from the Java programming, you use so you think here, this is the key and this is the value. This is the key, this is the value. If suppose you have written the key value pair in a text file, you want to read this, then you can use this properties class. Will help you to define the properties. It get the property. If you see, if this is a get property, if you give a key of state, it returns the Massachusetts. Whenever you want to run with the text file, you go and implement these kind of classes. And like the way there are many classes which you need to use based on your functionality. String tokenizer. Suppose you have a big string. Suppose you type a message, like one paragraph message you have typed it. A paragraph contains a number of words. Suppose you input a string and you want to cut that token it into every word. This string tokenizer will help you to cut the string into multiple tokens. You see here in this example, this is the test. A string tokenizer class I have they use. This is the test. So then it has while loop, it tokened. So it created this as a one, each a text. Whenever you see a gap, it tokens out. And you get this kind of a string output. Suppose this is the test split S. So then you can define however you want to split. So you can define, suppose I want to split based on the spaces, you can give a spaces. After the space, it give a string to you. If you want to token based on some kind of special characters, then it will token. Suppose if you give an email, abc person dot at the rate of gmail.com. If you want to token at the rate, so string tokenizer, you give a string abc person at gmail.com, and with token you give an ampersand you give at the rate symbol, so it give a two string. abc person is one string, gmail.com is another string. You get a two strings. You can define it like that way in the string tokenizer. Like the way if you want to play with something with the date. So today's date is July 30th. Suppose you want to convert this date into add 5 years for this, or add 4 days for this. What is the date? Then it will give a date object will provide you. You gave a July 30th. It will ask date of, is it a leap year? It will tell you whether it is a leap year or not. Like those kind of methods are available in the date classes. Suppose you gave a date, give me the today's month. It will give a month for you. So this is the kind of an date. If anything related to date you want to play, you use the date object. This is also a collection objects. Like you want to have play with currency objects. This is a currency related stuff. So you have a Indian rupees and you have a USD and euro. If anything related to play with the currencies, you can use the currency object. Calendar. If anything related to calendar, you want to play, You can you can use the calendar object, and you see that these all are the tools when you're writing a program. Utilities, that is why they call it java.utils. Means whenever it says java.util, you have all the collections and tools to write help to your programming needs. Like the way you have a lot of collections, it's very tough to go through each and every collection, and you no need to remember all these collections also. Generally, the whatever array list, hash table, hash map, tree map, and tree set. These are the pretty useful collections, and also date and date. You generally you need to use a date. Calendar you use it day to day life, and also string use day to day life. These are the some of the main classes which I have mentioned here. So date and time, global calendar, currency, random, zip, logging, rejects. So what is a zip? Suppose you want to play with something with the zip file, then will help you the I don't see here, but in this APA, maybe the 8 is not allowed. I think let's go to the something like uh, let me go to 12. Yeah. So zip is not included in the Java 8 version, maybe latest version zip functionality. Zip file, you want to open a zip file, you want to play with the zip file, you can use a zip class like that. And also, you know that what are the exceptions it will generate this collection framework. We talked about exception, they have mentioned everything. So this will help you whenever you want to play with the Java util, you want to write programming, always you need to have this Java API with your hand, then only you can write the code. That is I want to give a demo of this Java collection framework and also how you use a Java API. And another important thing which I want to talk about the wrapper classes. The wrapper classes provides a way to use a primitive data types. We already talked about our data types: byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and character. This is the primitive data types. And they have provided an equivalent class names as a Java object. If you see here, capital byte, capital B, and lower character of B. Wrapper classes, they made it exactly similar. It created like an object because these are not objects. These are the data types. They created like in a Java class, kind of a wrapper to whatever, the wrapper means generally, right? You wrap something onto the top of it. That's called wrapper classes. Byte, they have a capital B, short, capital S, int, capital integer, long, capital L. So they made a similar naming convention, but they made it F. So advantage of this wrapper classes is, suppose if you see here, integer, int is equal to 5, and double, capital D, is equal to 5.99, character is 8. So you can, the advantage of these objects is, all the collections which I mentioned to you, it can store only the objects only it can store. Collection cannot store primitive data types. You cannot store an int into a collection object. You need to store as an object only. That is the reason we have provided these wrapper classes. Something you want to store an integer into a hash map or array list, you cannot store it. You need to convert it into a Java object like integer, and you can store it. One advantage of this wrapper classes is that it can convert from, suppose you given 5.99, it will help you to convert into a float. You can transfer one data type to another data types. Sometimes when you transfer one data type to another data types, you may lose the data also. 5.99, if you convert into integer, you remove the .99, but you convert into 5. you get the file. In the Java API, the wrapper class is also available. They have mainly mentioned in the, if you go to java.lang, they mention these wrapper classes. So long, they mention as long as a class. They are not a part of the collection framework, but they're part of the java.lang framework. And the reason I'm explaining in the collection framework is because whenever you want to store integers, whenever you want to store Boolean objects, whenever you want to store a float double into collection, it is not possible because those are the primitive data types. If you want to store an integer into a collection, you need to convert them into a wrapper classes like this. Then this is becoming a Java object. You can store into a collections. And simple to understand, every data type, there is a wrapper class. Wrapper class is an object where the primitive data types are not an objects in Java world. You cannot create an object. You know the difference between why it is Java object means. Java object means you have a class and you create as many as objects. With primitive data types are a simple data types. I will go through these assignments. I want you to develop these assignments. So let's understand these assignments. I'm going to give this assignment to you. You need to work on this. Write a Java class to store 10 string objects and 10 integer objects into array list and print them. So I have given 10 string objects, 10 integer objects. Integer means int 1, int 2, int 3, int 4, like the way you can say 10. I want you to store into an array list. You cannot add an int to an array list. You need to convert into wrapper class like this way, then only you can store it. So develop this code. Second is write a Java class to store 10 employee numbers and employee name, address using hash map and print them. Use employee number as a key value pair. So I want you to create a 10 employee numbers. Employee number 1, their name and address. Employee number 2, name and address. Employee number 3, that is the key and address. I want you to build this kind of a Java class. So it's kind of an assignment for you people. Write a Java class with the field employee number, first name, last name, salary, email. So you need to create a class called employee and it should have a name, number, first name, last name, salary as in a properties, email and properties. And dynamically you need to fill up the 10 employee objects into our list. Develop this code. It means that you are not hard-coded. You need to fill up in a for loop for all these objects, 10 employees, and fill up the collections dynamically in the for loop. The same assignment is use employee number as a key value object and store in hash map, hash table, and using iterator object to read all of them back again. Whatever you have stored here, you use iterator object and read all these details. I want you to understand this assignment and start developing the code. You might have a lot of challenges, but try to think in this direction, how to develop the code. I'm planning to review this code in the next classes. Just try to develop this code. The next concept is Java generics. So generics.
Sir, I have one question.
Yep.
So what is made by Java API, sir?
What do you mean by Java API?
Java API.
Java API, like as a programmer, you are developing a lot of classes to develop the code. Java has written a lot of classes already to help the developer's life simple. Whatever the classes they have developed, they have provided a right documentation for you. They provided documentation. Application API stands for Application Programming Interface. API means. So they have provided this API. This is the online they have provided. They have documented all their Java classes, what they have written already, and each class, whatever they have written, they have developed a programming interface also already. So it's kind of a documentation. They provided documentation for the developers about their classes. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Suppose, let's see that. Suppose you created this Java C test array, right? So you provided this Java C test array dot Java. You created this Java class. So this is our test class. You created this test array class. They also written classes like this, and they have provided a complete implementation. What is this method? They have documented everything. So Java doc test array dot. So I've been using Java C Java, right? Let's see what will happen. Java doc, Java documentation, test array dot Java. Let's try this. What will happen? Let's see that. What is happening here? Java doc test array list dot Java. Loading a source file, constructing a Java doc information. There was an error came. It came. Let's go to C training folder. I go to C training folder in my computer. If you go to C training folder, so I created a public, that was error actually. I created a Java documentation now for this class tester. Let's see, open, go to training folder now. See that I get a lot of HTML pages here. Let's open my HTML page. Let's go to index.html. You see that index.html I created now. I created Java doc for my class. Class test array list. I created this documentation just now. Class test array list. So this is the class test array list. For the class test, I gave a documentation here. The class test array list extends object. Public class test array list extends java.lang object. Means I told you every class will extend a java.lang object. And constructor is test array list. I have a default constructor. And I have one method, main method. Suppose I write a improvise this class, test array list. I create a public test array list. I create a constructor, okay? String test int I. I create a constructor now. So I created a string test and int I given like this. So test str. So I gave method log test str is equal to test ii is equal to I. I created the constructor. I created one more method, public void. Give me one thing like a testing array. So I created some dummy method. So I added these things. Suppose I develop this code, someone wants to use this code. If they want to understand this documentation, because I have written this code. So what I do is generally, I created a documentation for this. I generate the documentation. I can like go to my documentation and open the my index.html. But this is what I generated. This is the current one, right? I have only one construct. Let me run again. I refresh my page. You see the constructor now. Java dot along the test int I created, and I create a method test array, testing array. I created the documentation. How simple to create this documentation? Exactly what I'm showing to you here also. And Java has developed the classes like this, and they are provided this documentation for you to understand, to write a code. So in order to develop this much of a HTML page, this is very simple. You use a java doc command, java doc and test arraylist.java. You give a source file. Where this java doc is coming? So you have installed your Java. Where is your Java installed? You might have installed in everyone installed in different location. I go to Java, JDK level. If you go to bin directory, in the bin directory, so whenever you type Java, this is being invoked. Whenever you compile Java C, this is being invoked. Whenever you compile Java doc, this is being invoked. This is the actual code. When you type Java here, when you type Java C test array.java, when you compile that, so Java C means you are invoking this person. This is the executables. This is the program you are invoking. When you write Java and test array, you run the class. Whenever you run the class, you are invoking this one. Whenever you use a Java doc, you are invoking like this. So bin directory means it is a binaries of Java programming. All these commands are being invoked here. Like the way you have a lot of things here, lot of applications, all are commands here. Java P, Java W. Like the way there are many things are there. Jar file. Jar is like a you zip the you like a zip, like zip means you condense pack 4 or 5 classes, 4 or 5 files into zip file. Jar will is kind of a packing all these. Suppose I create a jar, give like test.jar, and I'll give the all the classes star.java. Means I'm packing all the Java classes in my folder. So if I go to my training folder, I have a lot of Java classes. I have a lot of Java classes. I want to pack all this into one file, zip file. So I pack all of them. So Java CDF test.jar star.java. I'm packing all the things into one file. I created this test.jar. If you go to test.jar, I say I created test.jar. If you open this test.jar, I have all the Java classes. So I can't open this file here. Let's go copy this file here and something. I create a test folder here. I copied here, test folder, and I'll go to this directory, test, test. So here I see test.jar. So I open this XPF. I open this file. It means unzipping. This is I'm doing unzip the test.jar. So what will happen here? So I open the test.jar. All the Java classes came. Means this test.jar, I packed all of these things. Means jar command will help you to pack all the files. It's like a zip file. So as you mentioned that, you might see that in this jar use like this way. Javadoc will help you to answer the question. Javadoc will help you to create a documentation for your Java class. I have demonstrated how to create the documentation. Do you understand? Is clear to you now?
Yes, Sham. But just want to know, Sham, like why we are using star, like just the jar test
Oh,
test star,
okay.
the single star.
Star means I use the star is because you can use the name also.
Okay.
Like star means all the Java files I can send. Let's do one thing. I'll give example one more thing. Let's go to back to again. So jar CBF and test2.jar and I give star. So let's do the what will happen now. Means it doesn't matter whether it is Java file or HTML, everything packet. It packed everything. It is packing everything. Star indicates like you don't need to mention a particular file name. If you want to mention particular file name, you give a name of the file, which one to pack. I am packing all the files. So it's taking a lot of time. You see that? I'm packing whole files.
Mhm. And we can even give, like you have given CVF. We can give some name also, right? Instead of
So
CVF or any
yeah,
report.
so jar CVF. CVF means create the file and
Okay.
a.jar. I give only uh, test test array list dot class. So I packed only one file. A.jar contains only one file.
Okay. A dot jar contains only one. Got it.
Only one file. If you want to mention two files, test array list Java space. Now A
It
contains
contains
two files.
A
If you
dot
want to
jar contains two
yeah,
files.
if you packed all the class files, I give like this. If you want to pack all the HTMLs, I give like this. If you want to pack all the Java files, I give like this. So what will happen? It packs all the class files. It packs all the HTML files. Star means I'm not mentioning any name,
Any name. Okay.
anything.
Yes. Got it.
It's a good question. I don't know who asked, but Java doc going to that, good, asking that question, very good. That gives me to give more knowledge in this direction.
It's me, Sai.
Yeah. So the one more topic is I'm going to add this. So far you learned Java as the days going, the complexities keep on increasing. And Java generics will add some more complexity. Whenever the complexity increases to understanding, it means that programmer can easily write the code. You need to understand. Whenever the complexity of understanding the programming is more, the developer point of view, developing the code is simplified. That's the meaning of it. Java generics helps to pass up any parameter types to class constructor method using generics. So far, we have been talking about passing a parameter like string, text, int I. And we are passing explicitly what data type I want to pass string, what data type I want to pass int. You are telling to the constructor, hey, I am passing a string. I am passing. You are hard coding the data types here. Generics is called itself is generic thing. It means that you can pass any data type, I will work. Suppose I am passing here instead of string, I pass a float. It will fail. How to overcome this kind of things is called the generics you are going to take care. So two types of generics are the class generics, method generics. The advantage of is this code reusability will happen and data type safety will happen. So generally, I want you to zoom this in your code, so that, in your screen, so you can understand, you can see what I am explaining here. So here, if you see that class test generics, you see that different kind of I have added this T and T dot object. Test generics, a constructor. T object. This dot object is equal to object. So far, whenever you write a constructor, you are writing a string, int, a parameter, and you are assigning, creating constructors. Here, what is a T? It's a different data type altogether. I don't even know what is T here. And there is one more method called public T get object return this dot object. I given a return type is T. So far we are talking about return type is equal to string, return type is equal to int, return type is equal to void, we know it. But here I mentioned as T. One more method here, static. I'm returning a T void generic method display T elements. I'm using T keyword everywhere. I'm not saying that you need to use T, you can use any other word also. T is called type. So I created a class like this. And let's call the public static void method. I created object test generator, test generics. You see that I am passing integer here. Object new test generic, I am passing integer is equal to 50. It means that my test generic constructor, the key is becoming integer. This constructor data type is taking integer. Go to next one, test generic. I am passing a string here. It's a variable. Type is dynamically changing it. And I'm passing a constructor is test generic string. So I am passing here integer, I am passing here string. This program, this constructor, the parameter become a string. Again, if you take a method, generic method display, I pass level is integer, means that this data type becoming int now. Now I am passing a string, this become a string. And I'm passing a float object, or float 1.0 means float number, this become a float. This method, I'm not hard coding the data types. I'm not hard coding the data types, and dynamically the data type I'm changing. Generics is called generic thing. I can define a method or a class constructor without defining a what data type I am using it. In my previous example, if you see here, I am hard-coded here. String and int means that this class can take a constructor of string and int only. If you pass a other than string or integer, this program will fail. How can I make, even I don't know while writing the code, whether it takes a string or integer, it all changes dynamically. Whenever you think that dynamically, I don't know what data type I need to supply, then you write a method like this, generics. You can still define a method or constructor without knowing a data types. You can dynamically decide your data types runtime. So that is the reason in the previous, in my example here, some of the example which I mentioned to you see that array list, string, new array list. I'm telling this array list object, I am sending only strings. I'm sending only strings. Array list constructor, I'm telling your constructor is only strings. I can only give a strings. I cannot give any object here. Advantage of this is, if I change this one to integer, I can only send, this will fail. I cannot send integer. I need to send only integers. So generics will help you to decide your data type dynamically, not at the during compile time. Compiler cannot detect whether it is a string or integer. Java runtime environment will understand this is a generic of string or it is an integer. As I mentioned, that advantage of using generics is code reusability. I define a one function. It doesn't matter which data type I am taking it, but I will work for all the data types. And data type safety. Something I define an integer here, string. If I try to pass it, float, it will fail, compile time error. So it will work even though I pass as a, even though you define as a any data type, I can pass a string data type, I can pass int data type, I can pass a float data type, still my method will work. So dynamically I'm checking it, element dot get class. What kind of class it is? Get name. If you pass this 11, I know that this is an integer by invoking this dynamically. If you pass a string, I know that element dot get class. What kind of class this element? Get class is returns a string class, and get name, it gives the name of the string. So that we can find out in the real time. That is about the generics. It's a very simple concept and very powerful and helps for a lot of code reachability. So today we have completed the complete collections. I gave overview of the collections, and also I have gave some assignments. Practice those assignments, and we talked about primitive data types. We talked about generics. We talked about Java API, and we talked about a lot of collections. There are many collections. You can't even remember all the collections. You need to go to API, Application Program Interface, and look at collections which is needed for your program. Then you need to understand their methods, signatures, documentation. Then you start writing the code. Main collections are hash table, hash map, array list, hash set, tree set. You remember these things, more understanding. Rest of things not much needed for your Java interview point of view or Java programming point of view also. When the need comes, you can go to API, get more knowledge and start writing the code. So tomorrow we talk about other concepts, and I'm ending for today's session, collections, and everyone has clear understanding about the collections.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.